Today I'm baking sustainable Alaska Pacific cod with a soy honey glaze and crisp cucumber salad. First, I'm going to make the glaze. I take a tablespoon of sesame oil, 3 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, rich dark soy sauce, and a tablespoon and a half of liquid honey. The next thing I'm going to do is grate some ginger. Peel off the skin. All the time keeping an eye on your glaze. Look into it here and you see these bubbles and it becomes almost the texture of honey. That's the time to move it away from the heat. Okay, now I'll grate the ginger and pop that in the glaze. Give it a little stir. You want to get to the point where this basically coats the back of a spoon. Okay, now this glaze is good for the Pacific cod. Take the pieces of cod, roll it in the glaze so that you've got the presentation side or the glazed side on top. Okay, see that already looks good enough to eat. It probably is actually. Next, take some sesame seeds and just shake them over the top of the cod so they stick to the glaze. Yum. Now that goes in the oven for about 6 to 8 minutes. Let's grab some lemon juice and some lemon zest. So here I'm using a zester. You could happily use a grater if you like, but I like the long strips you get with a zester. Next, to get the juice, so squeeze it in. Next, I've got some chilli here. Now, cut through the center. Cut the seeds out. Keep the bits nice and small. Okay, into the bowl. Now I've got about a tablespoon of oil. We don't need much oil here. The dressing is more based on the fruit juices than the oil. The next thing that's going to go in is some cucumber. Okay, so here, because I want the crunch of the cucumber and I don't want all the water, I'm going to scoop out the seeds. So I just cut it in half and scoop all of the seeds into the bowl. Then, at a slight angle, chop the cucumber into thick-ish slices. Remember, this is going to be the contrast, the crisp contrast to the rich glaze on the outside of the cod. We've got the lovely contrasting texture with the soft, smooth Pacific cod. A little more crunch. I'm going to pop in some radishes. Just chop them up. Okay, toss these in as well. Next, I've got the oranges. First of all, you cut the top and the bottom off. Get it to sit flat on your board. Then, peel down the orange, cutting away the white pith and the orange zest. Okay, next, grab a smaller knife and hold the orange in the palm of your hand over the top of the bowl so that none of the juice can escape. Then you cut in between, just taking out the flesh, the really juicy, tasty bit of the orange each time. When you've got all those fleshy segments out, give it a good squeeze and that juice becomes part of the dressing. At that stage, stir it all about. To finish it off, I've got some fresh mint here. Now, you might prefer coriander, you might prefer basil. Okay, it's just whatever you like best. So sprinkle that in. And at this stage, I'm going to pop in the pak choi. All you need to do, cut this in half through the middle, pop it in, and the idea is that the leaves are cooked through, but the stalks are still nice and crisp and crunchy. This is one of the freshest vegetables to serve. Next, I'm going to get the cod out the oven. Now, have a look at this glaze around the outside. See, it's become quite saucy. It's picked up the juices of the cod. So you've got the glaze that's over the top and through the cod. Got the sesame seeds for a little bit of crunch and a bit of extra flavour. This is just divine. So here, this will very cheerfully do for a nice big spoonful of salad. And see these colours, and this is something I love in food. When you've got this sort of celebration on a plate, and here I've got the cod, and you've got the rich, luscious glaze. And you've got the fresh and crunchy pak choi. Because you've got all this juice from the oranges and the lemons, I like to dress the pak choi with a bit of that. So here you've got it. Pacific cod with pak choi and a crisp cucumber, orange and chilli salad. Yum. These days, sustainability, wild and natural are real buzzwords, but for Alaska Seafood they simply sum up what they've been doing for half a century, bringing some of the best wild sustainable seafood to your table.